All right, so speaking of, I don't even know how you segue from that. I guess
we're back, baby.
Odd things. So do you remember Star Wars Racer Revenge?
Yes.
That is the PS2 sequel to the beloved N64 Star Wars Pod Racer game. That got re-released for PlayStation 4 way back in 2016. And in 2019, Limited Run Games put out a physical edition for all those die-hard Racer Revenge fans out there, of which there are surely dozens. And overnight, that copy of that PS4 game has suddenly become very, very valuable because supposedly it is the thing you can use to jailbreak your PS5 if you have the physical disc. So it went from basically being, 20 bucks a pop to selling for like 300 just like literally overnight. And I think they only put out 8,500 copies of this game, so it's not exactly super, widespread.
Okay, I have vague memories of this because I remember being like, Limited Run does a really good job of making me want a thing that I absolutely don't need at all because they add like superfluous packaging stuff, and they did like vintage action figure card backs for this game. You can see it on the eBay listing right here, and it made me go, oh, that's really cool. I need that, and I absolutely don't, and I don't even have like, typically fond memories of this game, but yeah. So people are buying this now and they're using it to jailbreak their PS5.
Allegedly,
when I saw this headline, I thought it was out of nostalgia for the new Star Wars pod racing game that's coming out soon.
That would make a lot more sense.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing where, like, I don't know, a new Star Wars thing happens and suddenly everyone goes and plays Battlefront 2 again or something.
Sure,
that pretty much happened earlier last year or whatever. Yeah, no, I don't. Okay, so I don't know how this happens. Like, this isn't, people who are jailbreaking PS5s and pirating stuff, I imagine they're operating on, fairly covert channels because that's illegal. They're void, or at the very least voiding a warranty. And the point is to jailbreak a PS5 is to play pirated games. Like, that's
right.
They're not exactly just doing it to make the PS5 feel free and. Like, it's not like taking a restraining bolt off of 3PO. It's like you're using it to do crime.
But you're paying upwards of $300 so that you don't ever have to pay for games ever again, basically, right?
Yeah. It's
okay.
It's like what, like 2 years of Game Pass Ultimate, but yeah, something like that.
No, it's like buying a crowbar.
So the thing that blows my mind about this is, how did they find this out? How did they figure this out? How did they I
don't know.
Yeah, like
this is so fascinating to me. So my understanding, having just learned this, is that usually it's impossible to do this with your traditional PS5 game, right? And there was obviously something left on or off this disc that enabled users to use this specific piece of software to jailbreak a PS5, which is something that, like, we all know console manufacturers don't want you really peeking under the hood and going behind the wizard's curtain for this kind of stuff. So somehow this got through whatever, I guess, product testing or standards that Sony has for discs that allow them not to do this. This is not like the first time. Like, there's been obviously times in the past where people have used very specific things to jailbreak consoles, right? Because again, they're all walled gardens and they don't want you back there. But this is really, really interesting because that they only printed a certain amount of these.
No, it's again, very bizarre. I'm completely dumbfounded. I'm like, how did they figure this out that this game did it? Like, was somebody popping in every physical disc that they could find and going, does this work? Does this work? And like, there's an answer to this that I wouldn't understand if they told me it, and they wouldn't tell it to me because they're probably like, secret pirate folks out there and they're doing cool hacker stuff or slicer stuff because it's Star Wars. That's what they call hackers in Star Wars. But they, sure enough, they threaded the needle like old Anakin Skywalker on the Boonta Eve race in Beggar's Canyon, just whoop, right through there. Yeah, I don't know. Did you play this game at all? Like the Racer Revenge?
The original one, I didn't touch the limited run re-release. But
I mean, you mean the original PS4 port of the PS2 game, or the original N64 game that got the PS2 sequel?
I played the N64 game.
Everyone played the N64 game. The N64 game is great. That's the one that everyone adores and loves, and it's still like there are lots of parts of it that suck, but like it's better than the arcade version, which is just a pain in the ass. But yeah, this one I remember they put out, I think like Sony put out a special edition Battlefront or Battlefront 2 edition PS4, and it came preloaded with a bunch of PS2 games which weren't otherwise available. I remember this because they had Bounty Hunter and this, and I think they also had Super Star Wars, the old the old Super Nintendo game on there, I want to say. And yeah, I remember being like pretty excited about it and then frustrated that it was only available on this one PlayStation, and then they released them on the PlayStation Store or whatever. Jumping into this one, it's so weird because it feels like it doesn't have the same nostalgia as the original at all, but it plays close enough, I guess, but it's still just, it feels more like a Star Wars colored, F-Zero or something.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I really thought that this was going to be one of those things where people are like, oh, I just really like this game and I got to pay a lot of money for it, which happens all the time with, like, yes, even games from 6-7 years ago, right? Like we've seen just in the last couple of years, stuff like the 3DS and the Wii U and the Vita have just surged in price because they're old enough to be, I don't even want to say it without shuddering, but vintage, retro, nostalgia, right? But I think, like, for me, I like the idea of like old school consoles that have been basically abandoned by modern software and hardware companies, getting a new life in the sort of like aftermarket scene with hackers and stuff like that, right? But the idea of jailbreaking a modern console that is still getting updates regularly and gets new games and has full-on constant mandatory internet connectivity scares the living crap out of me. Like, it's one of those things where, like, if you gave me a jailbroken PS5 and I turned it on, I would immediately expect, like, the police, like, high beams, the flashing lights to just, like, bounce around the walls of my house. Because it's just one of those, like, these guys stopped selling games. You can't buy games on, like, PS2 and PS3 anymore, right? Like, you can't connect a PS3 to the internet and still buy new games, I believe, right? I know that Nintendo, like, after a while, they're just like, we're shutting down the Wii U and the Nintendo Wii and the 3DS eShop, and people are like, cool, I'll take it from here. And like, if you hack a 3DS, it'll be like, hey, do you want to connect to Spot Pass? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do anything like that. And like, I know Nintendo's not going to find me, but it still scares me. And so the idea of doing that on a console that's still like selling immensely well, it is their premier flagship system right now at the moment. Man, I don't know. These guys are bolder than I am.
No, I hear what you mean. I feel like it's the difference. Like, you trying to do jailbreak or hacker stuff on like an old piece of hardware that doesn't connect to the internet. That feels like, I don't know, like tinkering around with an old beat up muscle car. Maybe you're putting like illegal giant tires on and building a monster truck or whatever. You're like, okay, this is doing stuff up behind the garage that's kind of not exactly street legal. Mm-hmm. But like, who cares? This feels like breaking into a dealership and like hotwiring a Tesla, which I don't think you can even do. Like,
it's the difference between like one of those empty abandoned buildings with broken glass outside, and there's no one in there. There's graffiti everywhere, and there's like a subreddit dedicated to like finding one in each town. There's people that do that, right? And they're just like, hey, let's go to like the weird abandoned blah blah blah, or like going into a restaurant with a gun. Like they're very like, one of those things is a modern business still in operation, and the other one is like abandonware. So
fair enough. Yeah,
good luck out there.
No, yeah, and again, the big PSA here is, if you've got a copy of Racer Revenge, the limited edition, you can eBay that and buy.
Yeah, you played the long game on that one.
Yeah, that's a good. And I know there's some people who've got like, they want a complete PS4 library with box copies of everything, and they're probably like, darn it.
I mean, sounds like you can get a complete PS5 library with this game if you want.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip from Beyond, IGN's weekly PlayStation show. You can find the full episode over on youtube.com/IGN Games. And don't forget, new episodes of Beyond drop every Wednesday on IGN.com, the IGN Games YouTube, and all your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks again for watching, and as always, Beyond.